Hi everyone, Tony Tonkin here from Child Protection Party. Really glad you could be with me on this Sunday night live feed. If you've got any questions or anything that you'd like to ask tonight, please feel free to do so. That's why we're here, to have a conversation with you about the issues that concern you. So today, as most of you, all of you, everybody should have been aware, today was Father's Day, and every year during Mother's Day and Father's Day, we have this conversation with people about what it was like, what Father's Day or Mother's Day was like for you. Primarily because we're really conscious that there are many of you who have not access to your kids, and it can become a very lonely, frustrated day when you're thinking about all those things that perhaps you would have been doing as a family if your kids were with you. And so today I'm particularly thinking about fathers, primarily because as a father myself, I understand how important it is to maintain contact with your children. My children are scattered all over the countryside. I've spoken to them today, all over the world for that matter. But and I know how important it was for me to have conversations with them as well. But there are many people, such as yourself perhaps, who have not been able to contact your kids because they're in care or they're with somebody else, or there's a family court order that may prevent you from making those contacts. If that's the case, we'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you about that and how that was for you. I understand that certainly at this time, on these particular days, that it seems to me that perhaps many of you are not acknowledged as a parent, and it's times like this you start to think about, well, what was it? What is a parent? Have I been a decent parent if I haven't got access to my kids? And I just want to assure all of you that the title of parent does not go away just because your kids aren't with you at this particular time. The title of parent is one which we kind of inherit when we have kids, obviously, but it's also important to understand, I think, that it doesn't matter at what age your children are, if you will always be their parent no matter where they're living. We have many cases where people tell us that the title father or mother will often be taken away from them because someone else will choose to use that title. Either a kinship carer that's got your kids, or a foster parent, or somebody else will tend to take that title away from you. That title will never ever be taken away from you. I quite often reflect on my own case when it comes to being a parent, because I lost a couple of my kids earlier on. When they were young, I didn't see them for many years, and how it was always important for me to be their father, even though I couldn't be with them. Because, and I know this concept is really difficult for people to understand sometimes, but the reality is that if your kids are in care, or if they're in the care of somebody else, informal care or whatever it is, that number one, you never lose contact with them, ever. And that you work at trying to maintain that contact, as difficult as that may be, against all the odds that you might be confronted with. But to know that that if you maintain those contacts and you're always respectful, and particularly, and I'm really strong about this, if you don't denigrate the other parent or whatever, or where they're staying, and you're continually respectful, then you've got a good chance of, when they get old enough, they will want to spend a lot of time with you. And remember that kids, once they go into adulthood, and if you're young enough, they spend a lot of time with you, and they'll spend more time with you in those years than they ever did growing up as kids. So it's important to understand that the notion around father on this particular day is an important notion to have, because you will always be these children's father, regardless of the circumstances that you might find yourself in, or the regulations or rules that have been imposed upon you by society or by other people, such as the child protection system, the family law court system, whatever it might be. You will always be the parent. And so Father's Day is a day in which I think we remember the benefits of being a father, regardless of the consequences or regardless of where we might find ourselves at this particular time. So just wanted to remind people of that on this day, that is the notion around parent, you inherit when you get a kid, and that it continues with you forever. But it still depends on how your kids are going to respond to you as to how you respond to them, even when they're not living with you. I think that's vitally important. So remember that. The other thing I wanted to talk about also today has got nothing to do with Father's Day, but it has a lot to do with what we're doing at Child Protection PACE. There's a number of things we're doing at the moment that are really important. We're in the process of developing or massaging, if you like, some of the policies that we have at the moment, and would be really interested in having a conversation with you around the types of policies that you think we as a Child Protection Party, as an advocate for you, should be implementing. So there's issues such as the criminal justice system, particularly around kids. We're having a debate in the party at the moment about the age, whether it should be raised from where it is currently for most states, around 10 to 14 or 15 or whatever. We're having conversations, obviously, around trying to find people for Indigenous peoples to develop a First Nation policy. We're looking at education policies. We're looking at youth suicide. There's a whole host of them that we're looking at. If you have any ideas or you would like to participate in the discussions we're having around any of those, please let us know, because we want to have those conversations with you. We are a political party who is interested in your ideas. Will inform us about what it is that we need to do. So we're interested in your ideas, your feedback to us about what it is that we can do that could develop policies that fit with you. Now, I need to say that this doesn't mean that every suggestion that's put forward we will agree with, because we won't. We're a diverse group of people. There's some stuff that even the executives executive on the party don't tend to agree with either, and so we need to be able to sort out what that is. And we have a vote to work out what the policy will be. And there are some policies where we're simply going to say that there's so much diversion within our own political party that if ever there was a parliamentary vote on any of that, then we'd make it a conscious vote. So there are a number of issues where that kind of falls into. But the general stuff that interests most of the people that are members of this party sit within the realms of reasonableness, I guess. So join with us, have that conversation with us. Fantastic. We'd love to be able to ask you. So we probably wind up setting up a few subcommittees around some of these policies. If you want to become involved, let us know. It's ourselves, but there is an order in place. Can we do anything? So Joy, I do about what you are talking about. We just want to do things ourselves, but there's order in place. I don't know, Jay, what you're specifically mentioning. Just put another post in there that highlights what you're mentioning. The communications between DHS is ridiculous. Yep. And we could talk about that. I'll talk about that in just a moment. There's just one other issue, though, I wanted to discuss, and that is about joining us for conversations. So we had somebody that we had an interview with the other day, and it created a bit of havoc amongst her own family members with whom she's estranged. And I just want to make this one statement. The reason why we have these interviews and are keen to get them out there is that we want you to tell your story. So we're not telling your story for you. This isn't like the Department of Child Protection, who gathers all this information about you, reinterprets it, pops it into an affidavit, takes you to court, and attempts to tell you your story. That's the last thing in the world we want to do. We want you to tell your story. Now, in the telling of those stories, some people will say some things that will upset the other people in their lives. So if a person if a person says, I have family who don't agree with what I've done, who dislike me for whatever reason, who have put up barriers in front of me, who have not supported me. If a person says that, then they're entitled to say that. If that is their belief, they're entitled to say that. We are not going to vet them. We don't know. We don't know. We don't look at the background for a person that has that has an interview with us. We just don't do that. We just want them to tell their story. There are some restrictions. They can't mention the kids' names or anybody else's names that's involved in the case. They just can't do that legally. They can't do that. So, but we do provide the opportunity to, and we've had some fabulous people tell their stories. Now, the problem is that when someone complains to us that they have been mentioned, well, they haven't been mentioned. The family may have been, the person may have mentioned the family name because this person knows, because the person being interviewed, they know the person's being interviewed, then they know who they're referring to. We can't do anything about that. We can't, right? So don't even bother trying to contact us and saying that you feel offended because someone has talked about you, And don't, whatever you do not come to us and tell us that you're offended by what someone has said when they haven't even mentioned your name. They have done the right thing. They have not mentioned your name. People, when they talk generally, and they may have mentioned something about a family member, whatever, you know who that is because you're the family member. Because once you start to make that comment public, then you have done the very thing that you didn't want to happen. You have made yourself public. And I don't understand the reasoning behind that. I think that's crazy. So try not to do that. So someone said to me once, why don't you Google this person? Well, we did. We didn't find a thing. So they had a list of things that a person supposedly had done. They asked us to Google. We didn't. We don't Google people to find out. What are we supposed to do? We're not going to. The point is, folks, we're not here to judge you. We are not a political party. It runs against everything that we believe in. To prejudge people and say, because you have this certain history, therefore that's the sort of person you are, is not who we do. What we do. We may not like previous behaviours, and we certainly will not accept anybody who is a pedophile, who has sexually abused a child. We just will not have anything to do with those people. End of story. But apart from that, we will not check you out. We will just hear your story. That's the most important thing. So let us know what your stories are, and contact us at admin@childprotection.party, and we will have a conversation with you about the interview, how it's going to take shape, what you can and you can't say. We'll send you a form which you get to fill out to give us permission to use whatever it is that you say. So that's what I want to say in interviews. We're still anxious to have interviews. They're just, it's just that recently we've got to be conscious of some barriers that kind of got in the way that interfered with that process. But we still want you to interview. So Joy's here saying, I'm Indigenous and I just want to know if we're having a sit down or is it reunification? I don't get no responses. That's what is this about? I just want to know what's happening and never get an answer. Joy, I would suggest that you might like to contact an advocate of some description. Now, if you're Indigenous, there are advocate services around. So you just need to find out. I believe you might be taught about DHS, so maybe you're in New South Wales. I don't know where you are, or Victoria, but there are services. So if you're not getting a response, the best thing that you do is get an advocate service involved. Where possible, the Family Inclusion Network is a place to go. If you're having specific problems with regard to contacting an advocate service, send an email to admin@childprotection.party, and we will try and do our best to find someone for you in the state that you're in. Firstly, make contact with us. There are some issues there about wanting to have a meeting, never being able to have a meeting. And we understand this happens for many, many people, particularly during COVID, but they are issues that could be dealt with. Tracy, happy Father's Day to everybody. Same to you, Trace. Thank you very much. And you're in Melbourne, Jay. So send us. So we will contact someone in Melbourne, who will then contact you, Jai. So send us an email, admin@childprotection.party, and then we will send you the contact. We have a contact in Melbourne that should be able to help you around that. So anybody here today who's had a good or bad Father's Day, please let me know. I'm happy to have a conversation with you around it. And any other issues that crop up, let us know as well. So there's just a couple of things, I guess, that we still need to talk about. During lockdown, people are finding that the mental well-being in relation to kids tends to get worse. Even though I did see, so in New South Wales, I think they had the CEO of Lifeline come on, and he did say, interestingly enough, that the mental well-being of kids and particularly the youth suicide rate had decreased slightly, or at least it hadn't increased at the same way that I can't remember specifically what he said, but it wasn't a devastating figure. But it didn't exclude the fact that young people are still choosing to end their own lives. And this is a primary concern to the party, particularly to me, and something we need to do something about. And so I'm encouraging people in lockdown to monitor what's happening for your kids, to think about what's going on for them, and where possible to seek the appropriate help, whether it be Lifeline or whatever. Andrew says he has a good day because my daughter is in Tamworth in care, and she didn't even say that it was no good. Sorry, Andrew, I apologise. And she didn't even say Happy Father's Day. That's sad. That's sad, Andrew. Right. So, and I do understand that happens. As I said earlier, Andrew, the most important thing you can continue to do is to maintain contact. If they don't contact you on Father's Day, the fact that they contact you later or contact you whenever is a good thing. And certainly don't berate a child because, I don't know how old your daughter is, but don't berate a child because they weren't able to call you on when it's not their fault, when they didn't call you on Father's Day. But rejoice in those days when you do get to see your kids. They can be precious because every moment we spend with our kids is precious. It's like gold. So just make sure that you continue that contact. And Joy had the best day with her kids, and she says sorry to Andrew. So, and I agree. Look, it's terrible when we go through those days, and we can't. I went through many years, in fact, not being able to see my two kids, and so if there's one thing I do understand, because I've been there from my own perspective anyway, might not understand other people's specific situations, but I certainly know how devastating it is as a father not to see your kids for many years, because the system didn't work for you, and it certainly didn't work for me. But now I hasten to add, these days I have a tremendous relationship with my children, for which I'm very, very grateful. Just finished speaking before I came here, speaking with my son in Ireland, whom I love dearly, and he's 41 now, and but he's a fabulous young man. I'm very proud of him, but he didn't basically grow up with me for most of his childhood. So we can reinvent those relationships over time as well, because they'll be in your life for a long time. Just make sure that the way you're conducting your life is the best that it can be. So that, thing I like about my kids, I guess, is to some extent, I like to think that they don't have to think the world of me, but they can be proud of what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything that embarrasses them, apart from being stupid and foolish when I'm out with them sometimes, but I know that they appreciate the work I do. So work hard to be the best dad that you can. That's the best advice I can give, and if you do, your kids will respect you for that. So I just want to say, keep in tune. Every Sunday night we're going to be doing a live feed. If you've got a topic that you particularly would like us to talk about, and if you'd like to come on board on a Sunday night and talk about that topic as well, if you have a computer and a camera and a microphone, tell us what you want to talk about and come on and join with us on our Sunday nights feeds at 7 o'clock Australian Central Standard Time. Really look forward to being with you if you can make it. We also, on a Wednesday night, have a group that we meet together around people that talk about a whole range of subjects, and it's open to the general public. If you'd like to come along to that, you'll find on our Facebook page a message in relation to that meeting, which is at 7:30, I think, on a Wednesday night. And a whole group we had 12 people last week. Fabulous discussion around a whole host of things. Join with us to have that conversation as well on Wednesday night. If there's any other thing that you think that we could do as a political party that's going to help you, that's going to advocate and support you in terms of you attaining whatever goals you want around to kids, please let us know. We'd be delighted to hear from you. Thanks everybody for being with me. Take care, look after yourself, and more importantly, be safe.